This is the CHRILLCAST. I'm Chris.
I'm Will.
And I'm RGT.
And this is our Fandom Friday segment. Before I let RGT talk about his channel, I just want to recommend, I forgot about this, go check out his book. It's pretty cool and it's not that expensive. So there you go. Tell everybody about your channel, why don't you?
It is average to slightly above average video game content with a wide variety of topics, from news to reviews to all sorts of fun stuff.
RGT85 brings the best content. No, I'm not going to do that 2 days in a row. We're going to start with Will for Fandom Friday. What are you going to recommend to everybody today?
All right, well, this should not be a huge shocker to anyone who's ever watched the show or sees my hat. I'm recommending the original Xbox console. It's just, I don't know, it's such a tank of a system. It was the most powerful at the time. I love the startup animation where it's like this alien machine and it has like this plasma gel that's like, warming up, and all of a sudden it breaks into the Xbox symbol. Obviously The Rock announced it, which makes it even cooler. I had no idea though. This is something I learned years later, so I didn't know about that. But I don't know. I love the system. It came with the Duke controller, which everyone always ragged on, but I don't know. I felt it was such a beefy controller for a beefy system, so I liked it a lot. And obviously Halo. I really liked Fable, Knights of the Old Republic, and several other really great games. I think was Mech Assault, was that an exclusive or no?
Yes, it was.
Okay, that was also a really good game.
Did that come with the custom controller for the OG Xbox, or was that the 360 that had the custom controller?
That was Steel Battalion.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry, Steel Battalion.
Oh, Munch's Odyssey. That was a great game too. And yeah, I don't know. Most of my gaming memories started with the system, and also came with Xbox Live, not at first, but later. And playing Halo 2 with my brother on that was awesome. And just the fact that it was such a tank compared to the PS2. You put those two systems together, the Xbox really is just a huge freaking box. And yeah, and the pull away cables is also something that I felt was really innovative and amazing. So it had like the cables, if you kicked them, it would just disconnect the controller instead of like ripping your system off the shelf. Which, I mean, as a kid, I would kick that thing all the time. I don't understand it now, like how I was so clumsy, but I would kick that all the time. Yeah, and it survived having soda spilled on it because it was, I don't know, the way it was built, I was able to spill soda on it. It was totally cool. I will say something for the original model that was really frustrating is that the laser would go out. I don't remember the exact brand, but it was a really terrible brand. You can the later models in the console's lifespan had better laser for reading discs. Yeah, well, no, I love that system.
Also,
and I still think you should get it, even though you can play a lot of these games on the 360 and the Xbox One and eventually the Series X. But it just feels the best on the system.
I just want to jump in here and say it's one of the most modded systems of all time.
It definitely is. And Bill Gates was totally cool with that. And he's like, yes, allow it to happen.
I forgot. That was like a little side story on that where Bill Gates really went into like, yeah, good. If people are doing that, it means they're using the system or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But something along those lines. Is there anything else you wanted to add to
that? If you're going to play Xbox games on the Xbox One, you should pick up the Duke remake.
What's your favorite game on the original Xbox? I think it's pretty obvious, but
it would actually be pretty hard to say. Like, I want to say Halo or Halo 2, but I also really like Fable and Knights of the Old Republic. No, I played that game like, I don't know,
way after the fact, right?
Way after the fact. Yeah, I would have to say. Honestly, I'd probably say Fable, which is ridiculous because how am I picking Fable over Halo? But I mean, I like the fantasy element, and I'm sticking with it.
All right. I'm going to recommend a console, and then we'll get into RGT's recommendations. So hopefully you guys will stick around through this whole video. I'm going to recommend a console, but not a console. I'm going to recommend a handheld, and basically a PS3 in your pocket, the PlayStation Vita. I remember when I originally saw this, I was like, whatever, And then I picked one up, and I was like, holy cow, this thing is amazing. The back touchpad could do without, whatever. But the touchscreen on the front, pretty cool stuff. Unless you're playing Tearaway, then the back touchscreen is pretty cool. But overall, twin joysticks on a console in 2012 was when this came out. Makes for a great system. The Vita is probably my favorite handheld of all time, even more so than the Switch, because I feel like the Switch Joy-Cons are a little loose every time I play my Switch, and I got that one instead of the Lite, because I'm worried about Joy-Con drift, and being that Spawn has already covered that a bunch of times, saying that Joy-Con drift might be a factor in the Lite. I really don't want to get a Lite because you can't replace the Joy-Cons. So I got the standard Switch with the gray Joy-Cons because everything I get is gray or black. Hence why the PS5 controller bothers me so much.
It all makes sense now.
And I got the OG OLED PS Vita, the 1000 model, and I absolutely love this console. Basically, the game that sits in it all the time, though, is Persona 4 Golden, so I almost never remove that game from the console because I love that series and I love that game. By far my favorite Persona game of the entire series, unless you're talking specifically story, in which case it might be a factor in some of the older games. But Persona 4 Golden is great. Uncharted on here was way better than I ever expected it to be. The Wipeout series, another good console title that came to mobile on the Vita, and it plays these games like a champ for being from 2012. When I held this up in front of people next to their Switch, people still look at it and they're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "It's the PlayStation Vita." Of course, it's well, when did that come out? 8 years ago. Really? People don't believe this is a console from 2012 because it just looks so good. And the screen is beautiful, that OLED. Never seen a handheld with a screen that good until the Switch came out. That one is arguably better, but not by much. So, if you haven't gotten a PS Vita yet, I'd say now's the time before they run out in GameStop a used or eBay used, and then you start seeing that OG PS3 price range coming up where you're looking at $200, $300 for an handheld system from 2012, which I don't recommend paying. If you can find one of these for $100, $150, with some games and accessories, go pick it up. It's definitely worth it. That's it.
My turn?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to go with the Sega 32X. A fantastic attachment for your Sega Genesis. A very fun system with a solid library of games. Yes, there wasn't many games for it, and it's unfortunate that there wasn't many games for it, but the games that are on there's some really good ports. You have Virtua Fighter, which was arguably better than the original Saturn version until Remix came out, because it just controlled better, and it actually looked a bit better. Well, maybe not looked a little bit better, but it definitely controlled better than the Sega Saturn version did. You also had Virtua Racing Deluxe, which was really fun as well. Star Wars Arcade, which hasn't come out on a system since then. You didn't have Sonic, but you had Knuckles Chaotic, which, it's sort of a weird game, but if you like Sonic CD, which sort of brought new ideas into it, there's like a tethering ring mechanic in Knuckles Chaotic where you're having two characters. So it's sort of more based on physics than other things like just standard go left to right. And then you also had some really good arcade ports on there. The Mortal Kombat 2 was best on the 32X. It was better than the Genesis, better than the Saturn, and better than the Super Nintendo. Well, how is it better than the Saturn? That doesn't make any sense. Well, because the Saturn version of the game included loading screens whenever you were playing as Shang Tsung and he morphed into another character. The game would have to pause and load for like 2 to 3 seconds, which really just takes you out of the game, whereas the 32X version did not have any of that. You also had NBA Jam Tournament Edition, which had the scaling heads, which basically, when the closer they come to the camera, the bigger their head gets, which was more authentic to the arcade version. It's a very solid system. There's a couple hidden gems on there, games like Colibri, which is a shoot 'em up where you play as a hummingbird that was created by the creator of Echo the Dolphin. Just, a really fun system, a system that nobody cares about, but I love it. I remember getting one, and I remember loving it, and I still love it to this day. And if you want a complete North American collection outside of like 2 or 3 games, they're all mostly cheap, and there's not many to choose from anyway, so you'll be good.
Good.
Yeah, there's Khalid.
Will, you liked Echo the Dolphin, right?
I did. That was one of the few games I had on the Genesis.
Which game did you say was made by the same developer? The same...
that one, the one that's on the screen right now.
Oh, this guy. Oh, Calibri.
Yep.
Okay, that looks really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a weird system. And there's one game, the most expensive game is Spider-Man Web of Fire, which I'm actually surprised at how much that game has gone up over the past few years. I bought it in 2017 at Too Many Games, and I paid $300 for a boxed copy with no manual. And that was heartbreaking. That's the most I've ever spent on a game because I hate spending money on stuff. But now it's like you go on Amazon, it's very expensive. Like there's a complete one that's almost $2,000. There is one that's essentially a cartridge with a reproduction box for $500. So it's definitely shot up in price like a lot. So I'm glad I got it when I did.
Now I'm curious.
Well, they only made 1,500 of them. It was the last North American 32X game when the system was pretty much on its way out. So it's an actual rare game. It's not rare like Earthbound or any BS like that, which I never understood that because Earthbound is not a rare game. I actually made a video on that a long time ago complaining about Earthbound not being rare, especially compared to other games. But yeah, so if you could find it, it's horrible. It plays like crap and I hate it, but you know.
Yeah, this is like an authentic one. It's sitting at about $2,000, like you were saying. That's crazy. That's nuts.
Yeah, that is crazy.
If I remember correctly, though, I think didn't you say your biggest video game purchase was the Panasonic GameCube?
Well, no, because the Panasonic Q only cost me $260.
Huh. Okay. Then I guess the Spider-Man is number one, huh?
Yep, Spider-Man's the most I've spent on a single game. Well, not including like $400 consoles and like the PlayStation 4 when that first came out, but I used a Best Buy credit card for that anyway. So
I think the most I've ever spent on a single game was my OG Persona Revelations on the PS1, and that was like, I think right around 200. So it's either that or the GameCube component cable. Take your pick.
My wife would kill me.
GameCube component cable is like, oof, too much. But I got one anyway. And I've never regretted it, but I definitely regret paying what I paid for it. So I understand what you're saying. Anyways, is there anything else you wanted to say?
No, I think that pretty much covers it.
Cool. Well, we definitely appreciate you coming on the show. It's been really awesome getting to talk to you after watching your channel for the last 4 years or so. And hopefully we just continue to see you succeed on YouTube.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And hopefully I will continue to do it.
As always, I'm Chris.
And I'm Will.
I'm RGT.
And we will see you
on next CHRILLCAST.